Hello, everybody. In today's lesson, lesson 11.5, we're going to be talking about unit cubes and solid figures. And so our essential question is, what is a unit cube and how can you use it to build a solid figure? All right, so let's look at the investigate. You need some centimeter cubes. 8 should be enough. And you can build rectangular prisms using unit cubes. How many different rectangular prisms can you build with a given number of unit cubes? All right, so a unit cube is a cube that has a length, width, and height of 1 unit. How many cubes? A cube has how many square faces? Well, one on the top and bottom, one on the sides, two on the sides, and two here. So there's 6 square faces. And how many edges does it have? A cube has 12 edges. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. You also will have 4 on the bottom. So 1, 2, and then we can't see 3 and 4, but they're there, right? Because if there's these 4 up here, the bottom is exactly the same. So there's 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the 12th one will be on the other side. Okay, so 12. So the question is, build a rectangular prism with 2 unit cubes. How many faces does the rectangular prism have? Well, let's push those together. Okay, so there's a rectangular prism that has how many faces? Well, when we push them together, the faces make one face and one edge. Okay, so we're thinking of this as just one length, right? So it's still going to have 6 faces. We have the one on the top, the bottom, the 2 on the sides, and the 2 on those sides. This side, here, here, and top and bottom. How many edges is it going to have? Well, 12. Okay. So now we need to build as many rectangular prisms as we can using 8 cubes. Well, one easy one would just be a row of 8, right? All right. So if we had a row of 8, we'd call that an 8 by 1 by 1, right? It's 8 long, 1 wide, okay, right? There's only one row, and it's only got a height of 1. There's only one layer. So 8 times 1 times 1. Well, what if I did something like 4, a length of 4, a width of 1, but a height of 2? What if I had 2 layers? Okay, that would work. What if we did something like this? We have a length of 2. We have a width of 2. And we also have 2 layers. So 2 times 2 times 2. So with 8 cubes, I can build 3 different rectangular prisms. All right. So explain why a rectangular prism composed of 2 unit cubes has 6 faces. How do its dimensions compare to a unit cube? Okay, well, it has two congruent bases, right? The top and the bottom. And it has 4 lateral rectangles. Connected to the bases. All right, so let's look at this again. So they're asking us, why is the rectangular prism composed of 2 cubes still have 6 faces? Well, the top and the bottom are congruent, and then there would be 4 lateral rectangles connecting the bases. So that's still 6 sides, right? 6 faces. So why isn't it more? Because you might be thinking, well, I'll put 2 together. How come it's not more? Well, do you see that this edge here, or face, this face is sharing the face of the other one, right? So these 2 faces are pushed together, and they're on the inside of the prism. And so the faces are on the outside of the figure, not on the inside. Okay, and then how does it compare to just one? So here we have 1 unit cube, right? Well, 1 unit cube has one width, a width of 1, right? But so do these 2. They still only have a width of 1. They only have a height of 1, right? A unit cube by itself only has a height of 1. So the only difference is that the length will be 2, whereas the unit cube only has a length of 1. All the other dimensions will be the same. All right, so explain how the number of edges for the rectangular prism compares to the number of edges for the unit cube. Well, they're also the same. Okay, they both have 12 edges. Three, describe what all of the rectangular prisms you made in step B have in common. Well, they all had 8. They all had a volume of 8 cubes. Okay. All right, so let's keep that in mind as we're doing these. So make connections. You can build other solid figures and compare the solid figures by counting the number of unit cubes. All right, so figure 1. Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unit cubes. Figure 2 has 5 unit cubes. So figure 1 has more unit cubes than figure 2. Use 12 unit cubes to build a solid figure that is not a rectangular prism. Describe how your model is the same and how it is different. All right, so this is one that I'm not going to cover with you because it does require a partner activity. And so what am I comparing here? So just get 12 unit cubes and build a solid figure that is not a rectangular prism. So meaning that the base is not a rectangle. Okay. So something like these, right? And you're going to compare the shape that you drew to a person next to you. All right, number one. The rectangular prism is made up of how many unit cubes? Well, it's 3 times 1 times 1, so it's only 3 unit cubes. How about number 2? Well, I see a length of 4, a width of 1, and a height of 3. That's 12. 4, 8, 12. In number 3, I see a length of 3, I see a width of 2, and a height of 2. So 4, 8, 12. Again, there's 2 here and 2 here. So front and back, there's 4. And we have 3 rows of them. So 4, 8, 12. Number 4, 2, 4, 5, 7. Number 5, how are rectangular prisms in exercises 2 and 3 related? How can you show a different rectangular prism with the same relationship? Okay, they're both made with 12 unit cubes. And let's see. We have a base of 6. I could do, let's say, 6 by 2 by 1. That would be different. So we'd have a length of 6, a width of 2, and a height of 1. So basically, I'm saying we have like 2 rows of 6. Okay. And number 6. Compare the number of unit cubes in each solid figure. Use less than, greater than, or equal. All right, well, this one is 5, right? 2, 4, 5. Compared to 2, 4, 5. And those two are equal. 7. This one is 4 unit cubes. And this one is 5 unit cubes. So less than. Number 8. Melissa makes a solid figure by stacking 1 cube on top of a row of 2 cubes on top of a row of 3 cubes. Okay, so a row of 3 cubes. Two cubes, 1 cube. Then she rearranges the cubes to form a rectangular prism. Describe the arrangement of cubes in the rectangular prism. All right, so let me show you with the drawing here. I mean with the cubes. So we have 6 cubes, we know that. So she's rearranging them to make a rectangular prism. So we could have that. I'm sorry. We could have this, right? We have 3 times 2 times 1. 3 by 2 by 1. Okay. Or I could stack them, still have a length of 3, a width of 1, and a height of 2. But it's still basically 3 by 2 by 1, right? So we're basically saying 2 rows of 3, or I could have 1 row of 6. So I could have 6 by 1 by 1. Okay. So all we're basically saying is she took this basic shape design and said, okay, how can I make that into a rectangular prism? Okay. So remember, that means the base has to be a rectangle. Now I could have a 3 times 2, or I can have 6 times 1. That's the only way to make 6. All right, page 486. Right, so how can we connect this concept to art? So architecture is the art and science of designing buildings and structures. The cube house of Rotterdam in the Netherlands, shown at the top right, were built in the 1970s. Each cube is a house, tilted and resting on a hexagon-shaped pylon, and is meant to represent an abstract tree. The village of cube houses creates a forest. The Nakagen Capsule Tower, shown at the right, is an office and apartment building in Tokyo, Japan, made up of modules attached to 2 central cores. Each module is a rectangular prism connected to a concrete core by 4 huge bolts. The modules are office and living spaces that can be removed or replaced. Okay, so use the information to answer these questions. There are 38 cube houses. Each house could hold 1,000 unit cubes that are 1 by 1 by 1. Describe the dimensions of a cube house using unit cubes. Remember that the edges of a cube are all the same length. Okay, so we have to explain the dimensions, so the length, the width, and the height of a cube. We have to come up with a 1,000 basically. Okay, so we have 1,000 unit cubes that are 1 by 1 by 1. Well, it could be 10 times 10, which is 100, times 10, which is 1,000. So 10 by 10 by 10. The Nakagen Capsule Tower has 140 modules and is 14 stories high. If all of the modules were divided evenly among the number of stories, how many modules could be on each floor? How many different rectangular prisms could be made from that number? Okay, well, so we're going to take 140 and divide by 14. There's 14 stories, 140 modules. So that would be 10 modules per floor. What are the different ways of getting a factor of 10? Well, factors of 10. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. That's it, right? So 2. 2 different rectangular prisms. Ten times 1 times 1, or 2 times 5 times 1. And number 11. Match the figure with the number of unit cubes that would be needed to build each figure. Not every number of unit cubes will be used, so not all of these are going to be used. All right, so this one is 2 by 2 by 3. So there's 4 on the base, so 4, 8, 12. This one has 4, 3, 1, so that's 8. And the last one, we have 6 on the bottom, okay, because there's 2 rows of 3, and then there's 3 sitting on top of that, so 9. All right. So that's it for today's lesson. In our next lesson, we'll be talking about understanding volume. So until then, I will see you soon.